That was the first day of hell in that trailer.
It just disgusted me.
A lot of emotional stuff on here.
Damn, I was in that experience. It happened to me. It happened to us.
You didn't want that shit getting out.
Still that lingering tone or sound or voice in the back of my head that wants vengeance and answers. I vaguely remember my childhood in Florida. I remember some parts. I mean, when Panama City comes to mind, trauma comes up. I feel like I just have a lot of memories with trauma attached to Florida. But some good ones as well, like spending time with my grandma, going over there and expecting her to bake something or having something baked. Spending holidays at Nana's house, maybe riding around with her in her green Buick. I think she put me on her pork skins. And then I remember the trailer. I remember a Christmas with tons and tons of gifts when we came back. I don't know why we were away from it, but
You could actually walk from that trailer to our grandma's house. I did that one time with my uncles. We did that when I lived with them.
I don't have any linear memories of Florida. It's just spurts of memories.
But I remember the trailer was brand new. That was a big deal when we moved in. I remember walking in there though the first time, and it was new, and we were excited. And to us, it looked like a nice house. In a way, it was bigger than my grandma's place. Honestly, I think it was. Just because how open it was a double wide trailer, and it was a nice one too. At the time, this was the year 2000 or 99, 2000.
I couldn't tell you. I don't really remember living in the trailer. It's all a blur for me right now. Well, at the time, I didn't even realize we were living in the trailer. Because at the size, it just looked so big and grand to me. Even how my mom's bathtub in the room was set up. It was a garden type of tub or something. It didn't seem like a trailer.
I had my own room. My room, I remember, had 2 beds and a desk. My window was right by the main road. I could look out my window and see cars passing by and see people walking their times, or hear things, or hear people.
I had my own room. I had the built-in shelf set up. I had tea party set up or whatever.
And our mom had a nice master suite. When we walked into her room, it was cool. She had her bed and then her closet, and then her bathroom was just open to the room. The double sinks, and then the shower on one side, and then the toilet, the private toilet on the other side, and then the tub just in the middle. It was cool. It was a nice room. And then also through that kitchen was another back door, and it was dope because we had 2 TVs, but I always remember us watching the TV in the kitchen. We had a TV mounted above our little breakfast, because it was a corner little table that we had, and that's what we always ate at. It was the high chairs that Zeri was in, and then me and Shadeja always sat around. She sat in there, and I always sat on the edge kind of. And I remember we had the TV above because we'd always be watching cartoons and stuff. It was cool. I remember it was cool at first, but my mom had 3 kids at the time under 5 years old, 5 and under, so it got messy quick though. I remember that didn't get taken care of, us being kids running through this shit, and then stuff being rotten in the fridge. I remember rats were common in the house, and we didn't give a damn about it. Waking up in the morning, open the fridge, and 2 rats pop out or some shit, or there's a rat running by.
I remember in my room that I had alone that I so loved, I remember, I don't know if it was exterminators or something coming out, literally pulling out the drawers built in under my bed, and there being dead rats all under it. And I don't remember being terrified at all, which is crazy to me. And so even when we left Florida, it was fuck no. We can't do fills, we can't do nothing like that. I don't want nothing crawling towards me. I just really value a clean house, clean space, and also just being hygienic. Folks in our community always say, no man wants a woman that keeps a dirty house and such, which may be true, because don't want a woman want that either. we also don't want to attract things like that. But it also is telling to how we value ourselves. Like if I keep a filthy house, what else do I keep filthy on my person? You know what I'm saying? What does that say about me and my life? Clearly, I look like I'm in shambles. You know what I'm saying?
So it got gradually worse, and that was, I think, at the time because my mom was focused on other things, work, and I think she was focused on a guy at that time because soon one did move in, and yeah, that's when that house really changed. It went from rats to a piece of shit rat.
I don't remember crying a lot. I don't remember being like an angry child. I remember being like content, kind of busy. This part of my childhood, I was so just quiet, but observant. So I was always like a vigilant, like a very attentive, hyper-aware child. Because, well, we never knew what was going to happen. We never knew what was going to happen, what type of day the grown folks in the house had that day, or what was going to occur, which I feel like deprived me of some too, because I wasn't able to really just enjoy childhood and be present and, not worry about the things that not in my age bracket to worry about. But a lot of the like abuse that happened to my siblings and I, and even to my mom, and watching and just being observant of like what I can allow, what should not be normalized is love, or to have to even witness that ever, any capacity that I am in, is just something I won't, like I can't stand for it. And that's why I value family so much. The bonds I have with my siblings, like that's why I go so hard and so passionate about them, who they connect themselves with, who's caring for them, how they care for themselves, how they value themselves, because it is so important, and it sets the tempo for like the rest of your life, what you will attract, how you will bred and rear your own kids. And I'd be damned if I know I can't protect them from everything, but I want them, like we do, I feel like, have the tools to be equipped enough to know how to recognize signs of dysfunction and abuse, and to protect ourselves in our spaces, and to unlearn a lot of shit that was normalized to us growing up, because it's what we had to do.
So a lot of different people watched us, all right? So we got watched by my grandma and great-grandma, the Johnson family, and then my mom's boyfriend, Antonio, a.k.a. Darius. We got watched by both of his sisters at separate times, actually. We stopped going to our great-grandmothers and our grandma's house as much. We started getting babysat by other people. So specifically the Johnson family, we went over there the most.
Fuck the Johnsons.
And so it was Miss Johnson, who was like the main babysitter. It was her husband. And then she had like 2 sons and a daughter. I remember we get there early in the morning to like where when we got there, everybody was still asleep. So they would just put me and Shadeja in the son's room to just go to sleep. They just expect us to sleep and wake up in like the morning maybe. That's where the shit was weird though, because I remember the oldest son, basically he would get behind me in the bed and he would try to touch me, or sometimes pull down my pants or grab my hand and make me touch him. And I never said anything to anybody. I knew it wasn't right, but at the time, because he was older than me, I didn't know if it was wrong, so I kind of just went with it. And throughout the day, though, he would act like nothing happened, and I remember that made me mad because she would make him like take us to the park in the neighborhood, or make us walk us around the neighborhood, or leave him in charge. And I don't know, I just look back and it was so irresponsible. So I just, if that's what I was going through, I could just imagine my sisters.
I vaguely, remember all my days there. Of course, it's been so long, but I remember being there with him. I remember one day being left with him during the day. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I know we were in his bedroom, and his bedroom had like an open window. It was like midday, the sun was out, and it like overlooked the apartment complex, like basketball court. And I remember the motion of him just being on top of me and like violating me, and then literally looking out the window, talking to somebody to communicate about going to the basketball court, left me, went down there, and I was the only one left in like a quiet apartment. Like just there. I remember not knowing what to do and just being confused. And I didn't have words. I remember it so vividly. I didn't have words of what was going on. Like I was like 3 or 4 at the time. I just remember the emotions and it feeling uncomfortable and not being right. I just know it was not a safe situation, and he wasn't safe at all. I'm typically a calm person, but when I think about all the violation, how early it started in my life, especially with them, it's just like a lot of anger that like I really can't compose. Like even though I say and I practice, forgiveness, but don't get me wrong, there's still that lingering tone or sound or voice in the back of my head that wants vengeance and answers.
And by far, the Johnson's residence was the worst physically to me. The others, though, had a lot of emotional stuff on me. My mom's boyfriend's sisters, 2 of them, they were both older. But one was more younger. She acted kind of more ignorant. She didn't have any kids. She lived alone in an apartment. And she was wild. I remember she was just wild. Like, she was weird. I remember she was really aggressive. And I remember this one time she was watching another person's kids that had a daughter and a son. She was so weird. She like forced us to like play house. She like told Shadeja to act like she was cooking for me and made Shadeja make hot dogs for me, and then made the other girl make like top ramen for her brother, and like was like forcing them to like have like these ladylike roles and us to be like men and like get served. And I remember it was like so weird. I was like, this is my sister. Like almost like forcing us to act couple, like, and I remember it was so weird. I was like, this is hella weird. One time she took us to like a barbecue shack, and the people knew us. They knew our mom at the barbecue shack, like, and they knew us, so automatically they recognized us and was like, oh, that's Shannon's kids, blah blah. She was like mad. She was with somebody else. She was like, okay, and like she was like pissed off, like you should have gave us free food, like if you knew Sharon kids, blah blah blah. And she was like so mad and aggressive. I always remember that story with her because we went to the barbecue shack and she was like mad that the people knew us. Like it was so weird to us. And the oldest sister would watch us. Now, she had kids, and I remember going over there was actually fun because they had like a trampoline. We stayed on that trampoline because she had a son. She had like 3, 4 kids as well. But I remember her son and her daughter specifically because I was cool with the son, and then like the daughter was just kind of like the caretaker of us all. It was cool there. But the little sister, I remember before we had left Florida, the little sister that babysat us ended up hitting that older sister in the head with a hammer over something. And I remember I was just thinking like, what did that happen when we were there? Like it was so like they didn't seem wild, but she did seem wild. So I'm not really shocked, but it was weird. I guess that leads though to my mom's boyfriend though. Who was he though, right? So, but I remember when he came over, remember he looked young. So like he looked fun to us. So like he sat on the couch, and I remember that was like the first day we met him, and I didn't think though he would be moving in now. That was the first day of hell in that trailer. Their mom was 24 when he moved in, and he was 18. And so she had 3 kids. I was 5. Shadeja's 3. And then Azaria's 1. So You're looking at a kid moving in with a woman with kids also. I'm pretty sure he's a high school dropout. He had to be. I knew he didn't have a job. I knew that for sure. It kind of seemed like he was just like, I don't know, like playing gangster when I look back at it. Like, nigga was playing like he was hard. I remember she would buy him alcohol, or he would get alcohol. And then, like, that's like when it would change, like, at nighttime.
And that's when it, like, the atmosphere really shifted. It was almost like, it was just dark. I just remember after that, it being so dark.
He gradually started to, like, kind of get, like, annoyed at first of us. And, like, they would close the door. And we would just, like, be alone a lot. You start hearing arguments, and then you start hearing thuds. Like, you just started arguing, and then you started hearing things. Cry. And we started seeing him hit our mom. And then we got in the middle, and then he started hitting us. I specifically remember him taking my head, or like Shadeja's at the same time, and like holding us like down, like against the ground or against the bed. Like that was like his thing, like to hold us by the side of our head, like into like something. Like I would always call it suffocating us, because a lot of times there'd be like a blanket under us or like a pillow, like not intentionally, but like wherever we were, like, you know, your face just gets kind of caught up in it. And I remember like our mom like, stop. And our mom crying a lot. And like always like panicking because she couldn't really do nothing. And
I remember my mom literally crying, having some type of fear in her face.
I got always involved because I was the big brother trying to protect people. So I try to come in, and he would hit me or knock me down. Or I remember it took my head through a wall. I remember he put my head through a wall. I remember he put mom's head through a wall lots of times. Or he would hit the wall or push mom into the wall or choke her and hold her. Yeah, that shit was rough to watch.
It was just disgusting me to see, or just to know that, damn, I was in that experience. It happened to me. It happened to us. And this man went on about his merry way like this shit was normal. Like it was normal.
He didn't want that shit getting out, so he kept us there a lot. I remember that.
I remember she experienced a few miscarriages during the time that he was with us, and her, you know, being rolled out in a stretcher.
But I remember her crying, and I remember seeing like a dead fetus in the toilet, and then like ambulance and fire truck coming in, and like leaving before they came, and my mom like dealing with that situation with just us, and then like family members coming over after and kind of consoling with her. But he was nowhere to be found. And then at nighttime he came back and just like acted like it was nothing. He was cool with her. And the beatings and bullshit continued. And then his brother came. When his brother came around, it's kind of like he got even more tough back. I remember our mom had just made us dinner one night, and we were all sitting around like a little breakfast nook, watching TV, eating something. He came with his brother through the back door, and I remember his brother and him started saying weird shit like, "It's your time today, Shannon. Like, you might die today. Like, say goodbye to your kids. Like, this is your time. Your time's up." And she's like not paying no mind. Like, they're drunk. And I remember we're like looking like, because every time they came around, we were just always like, "What's about to happen? What's about to happen?" And I remember he had a brown paper bag. Antonio did. He was holding a brown paper bag, and his brother just had his hand in his pocket. Our mom came around like the breakfast nook, and like, so when she tried to go through to go to her room, his brother grabbed mom, and then he put a gun up to our mom's head. And we just started freaking out, like, let go, like, and tried to get close, and they were pushing us, and they held the gun. It was like, say bye to your kids, say bye to your kids. And we just freaked out. I remember like my sister started screaming. Shadeja in this area started screaming. And then like me, I started screaming. And like I was like, let her go, let her go, let her go. And I'm crying at the same time because like I'm thinking like, yo, you about to kill my mom. Like, seen him hit her. So I'm like, I'm not. You could kill her. And then I remember he just laughs and puts it down, and they both just started laughing and like go over. And mom was just in tears, like, my kids, my kids, my kids. And that's some deep shit. That's some deep shit to see it. See somebody put a gun up to your mom, especially two young niggas put a gun up to your mom. I mean, you can't do nothing. You can't do a damn thing but just watch them be useless. And that's how I felt at that moment. I felt useless. So like after that, shit got worse. So like beatings and shit just got more common. He got more bold from that.
But I do remember the abuse, like him just running my mom, and my mom just being so beaten from all angles, in my opinion. Like, I feel like my mom's never had a break, whether it be from my dad, another boyfriend, family. Like, it was just another time of me witnessing my mom in a deep, dark place of fear, terror, and just feeling trapped.
And so eventually my grandma Jackie just took me. I was in kindergarten. I was at my grandma's house from like December to like February, but bullshit kept happening from my sisters. It got to a point to where he wouldn't let them leave. The neighbors knew what was going on at this point. Neighbors knew it over there. We had talked to people before, so they knew that shit was going on. The cops that came at times, but didn't do shit because my mom was very passive.
And, you know, I know my family had their own issues back in the day, but I'm rolling up for my daughter. And to know that we were held hostage for 2 weeks in our own fucking home. Are you kidding me? And these are kids? Like, if not your family, then who?
And basically, he wasn't letting my mom and them leave. It'd been like 2 weeks my mom ain't left the house with my sisters. And the neighbor was all like, you need to let them out. I'm calling the cops. And she still called the cops. My grandma was panicking and she was waiting on my great-grandma, my nana, to pick her up. And I remember like my older uncle and my grandpa were talking to her. They're talking about my mom saying like, he won't let them leave, blah, blah. Cops are there. We're going over there. And they showed up with like SWAT. They had a helicopter above the house. You know, it's like, come out with your hands up. Like the whole thing, like hit his ass, put him on the ground type stuff. Like they arrested him like because they knew they was gonna book his ass for that. That was a lot of charges. He was looking at some charges for that. I look back at that. That fucking sucks. That I wasn't there for like a while of it. And like, it wasn't my fault because I look back, I wish I stayed. Like, I wish I could have. That's one of the biggest like things about that part of my life. Like, I couldn't like do nothing like for my mom, and then I left and I wasn't there for like my sisters. And when you're a kid, you don't have a voice, and like I always felt like that. My grandma and them would call the cops, but they didn't tell any men. Like my dad didn't know. I guess he didn't come around to know though too. If he would have showed up, he would have found out. He would have seen the motherfucker. Like, who is this? Where's my son? Like, it was even weird. I remember I didn't see my dad the whole time I was in my grandma's house. I didn't know if he even knew I lived with my grandma during that point. I look back and I knew what my dad knew. Like, that shit got stopped. And that shit makes me mad. Like, my cousins, like, just one man. And this was a boy that was fucking us up. And it just took one man that could have stopped him. Just one man. I was in my grandma's house. He was locked up. They went to court. And the judge looked at my mom and said, well, what would you like to happen to him? And my mom was like, I just want my kids to be safe. And I don't want to see him locked up though. And him to stay away from us. And like the judge looks like, oh, like, you know, he beat you guys, held you guys basically captive, hurt you, was raping my mom. The judge is like, what do you want us to do? And my mom was like, let him go. He fucked her head up, man. And shit before that fucked her head up too. But that fucked my mom's head up. That man, I watched him shatter my mom. I never ever after that let another man put her hands on my mom. Promise you that. Because I got older. And as I got older, motherfuckers knew. Eventually, my grandma, while they were in court, kind of took over, like, for my mom and spoke for her, like, you have to get out of here. He was going to get out eventually. I don't know if he was out, but he was going to get out. Sure, he was going to come back, because that was our trailer still. But my mom wasn't safe there because she wasn't She didn't want to see him suffer, even though we suffered. She was probably going to let him come back and hurt us. And at that time, the biggest importance was the safety of the kids. And our mom didn't view it. Everybody else did, luckily. So we didn't even know what the hell was really going on. We were just like, you guys are going to California and to stay with my mom's friend, Roger. And like, we talked to him like quickly on the phone, like previously, like he was brief. I was like, okay. We had this 3-piece green luggage that we had. It was like an army green. It was like the 2 big ones and then the carry-on one. And we filled it up with snacks and all of our clothes. And then we went to the Greyhound station. This shit made me never want to take a Greyhound again. But like, I remember like when we were at the station, it really hit me. I was like, well, we're leaving. And I remember that day, like my nana and my grandma, like they were sad because like we were leaving. We just left Florida. Hopped on the bus for like 4 days. I remember it was the worst shit. Like, I know people on that bus couldn't wait to get off. We were talking, we were so damn bored. Our mom had a little wireless phone with minutes on it, and she would call Roger in between, and we'd be like, are we almost there yet? Are we almost there yet? And it was rough. She traveled across with 3 kids, and like, we left, and we didn't go back. We left, and we went to California.